All right, so a quick question that we received throughout the week, and then we'll get back to live chat and keep on answering every question you guys have.
All right, so we got a question on YouTube from R.Y. George saying, "Hi, Laura and Robin. I have a question for you two. Is it easy to find gluten-free food in New Zealand? I have celiac disease and I'm planning a 2-week trip there with my fiance. Thank you so much for all the help on your website. It's fantastic."
I do like the nice words.
Yeah.
That is nice. All right, so obviously gluten-free is a big topic since many years now. It's both a food trend and a rampant disease. So there is kind of a big separation between two, right? There are people which are trying to eat gluten-free just for some diet purposes and just to follow that current food trend. And there are some people which are actually affected by a disease called celiac disease, which forbid them to process the protein inside gluten. So we will make a big difference between in this video just to give you some separate tips, because you can make compromises when you just are following a food trend. Not that it's not a valid food trend to follow, it's just you are able to make some compromises, while when you actually have a disease it's kind of a no-go.
Yeah.
So Laura, is it easy to eat out with celiac disease in New Zealand?
Yeah, it is actually really easy to eat out if you do have celiac disease in New Zealand, because gluten-free food is it's been a very popular trend in New Zealand for quite a few years now. So pretty much any menu in any restaurant, you will find gluten-free options, and they'll be clearly marked GF on the menu. So you do often have plenty of options. But when you are ordering at a restaurant or takeaway cafe, any place where you go and buy food, it is quite important to just make it really obvious to whoever is waiting on you that you do have celiac disease, and it isn't just, you're not just following the gluten-free trend. And the reason for that is
Laura's going to share a bit of a story.
Yeah, so the reason for that is when I first arrived in New Zealand, and I worked in in cafes and stuff like that, and I saw that in the kitchen, the kitchen staff would usually ask, do they actually have celiac disease, or is it just gluten-free? Because the reason they want to ask is because they want to cut corners and basically not, clean up properly after themselves and make sure there's no gluten getting into the food if it is just the gluten-free trend.
Because when they do have to prepare a gluten-free meal, they do have to clean the whole station.
Yes, they need to make
sure there's no cross-contamination.
Exactly. But if you do actually specify that you do have celiac disease, they'll make an extra effort to make sure that there is no gluten getting into your food, and they basically will do a good job of it. So yeah, that's just a tip for you when you are ordering out in New Zealand. You do have celiac disease, make sure that you do specify that you do have celiac disease to make sure they do a good job.
Now, when you're cooking for yourself, let's say you're staying in campsites, or even if you have your own camper van, is it easy to find gluten-free food in supermarkets in New Zealand?
Yeah, absolutely. Everything that is gluten-free that's sold in supermarkets is usually really clearly labeled that it is gluten-free, so you're not usually having to look too hard at the packaging. But they also have special sections of into the supermarkets, which just so it's obvious what the main supermarkets are in New Zealand. There's New World, Countdown, Pack and Save, and then on the South Island you have more Fresh Choice is another one as well. So yeah, in those larger supermarkets they usually have sections which are for special dietary requirements section. I'm not sure what the official label for that section is, but it is usually really easy to find in the supermarket, and they do have special gluten-free foods there, so that's easy enough to find. But if you are staying maybe in a smaller town or a village where there's only a convenience store, then
or a dairy shop,
because in New Zealand they call convenience stores dairies, just so you know. And yeah, if you're in a dairy, you'll probably have less options. There may be a few options, but by that point it's usually a good idea to know what type of foods are you'll probably recognize brands as you're going around the country, and in the convenience stores or the dairies, you'll probably know what you can have at that point, or you probably just have a little bit less options, and you'll probably have to be a little more picky in convenience stores. But it's usually, if you are traveling around, it's usually a good idea to stock up in the larger supermarkets when you're in the larger towns, and then you can carry your food around from there.
And some example of convenience store chains in New Zealand, as Jordan is pointing right now in the live chat, is Foursquare. So that's probably the largest kind of chain of convenience stores in New Zealand.
And in the South Island, there's another one called Night and Day, or Day and Night. Not sure which way around it is. Night and Day, I think it is. Yeah.
All right, so last tip for you when traveling in New Zealand with celiac disease, I will actually have a small kind of printout or save it on my phone. I will save a bunch of recipes which are easy to make with everyday ingredients, just in case you are stuck in much smaller town, or even in places such as, let's say you're spending an overnight in Milford Sound. Literally, you only access to food, and you should absolutely shop before you head there. But if you do run out of food, your only access to food therefore will be like the small kind of 10 items which are sitting behind the counter of the holiday park, and that's basically it. So you may be stuck in some places with very, very, very little. So obviously always make sure that you have a pack of rice and a couple of condiments to go with it to have a backup. But if I were you, I would actually have a bunch of very easy recipes, something based on potatoes, something based on rice, just some super simple recipe to be able to make almost any time on the road, and that will definitely kind of help you. Same thing for snacks. Once you find snacks that you like and that are gluten-free, I will kind of stock up on those, because one of the things that Laura didn't mention when talking about supermarket is that one supermarket of one brand and another supermarket of the same brand can have widely different stocks. We've seen that a lot in New Zealand. Some supermarkets in Auckland would stock a lot of different stuff and a lot of different brands, but then you travel down to a town like Gisborne and you have a supermarket of the same brand and they will have a widely different offering. So you may not be able to rely always on the same supermarket, let's say Pack and Save, to have the same products everywhere, just because some of them will be very different sizes, or because also the population in different regions may have different needs. So for this reason, I will first stock up on snacks. If you find a snack that you like, just buy everything you can carry, basically. And it feels like supermarket sweep. Buy everything you can carry and run, but that's not what I mean. But and also have a bunch of recipes that you are able to kind of carry with you. On the side note as well, if you do have to take medication or to have medication with you and you're coming in New Zealand for an extended period of time, let's say on a working holiday visa, you are able to bring 2 months worth of medication with
3 months.
3 months, 3 months worth of medication with you, and make sure that you bring a paper from your doctor as well. And so therefore, when you come to New Zealand, you'll be able to get another prescription from another doctor. So that's another tidbit for you. But if you're just coming for you, so Ryan Josh says coming for only 2 weeks.
Yeah.
So you should be absolutely fine, and you are able to bring as much medication as you will need for 2 weeks. That should be absolutely no problem. But it's always handy to have a letter from the doctor, just to make sure that you are able to follow that with, if at custom they ask you some questions about those pills or anything like that.
Yeah.
Anything else about gluten-free in New Zealand?
I think we've covered about everything.
So if you did find that useful, make sure to head to nzpocketguide.com. There is a full travel guide right here, easy and free for you to use. You can also reward our hard work by hitting the like button and subscribing to the channel for more travel tips for New Zealand. In the meantime, Laura and I will get back to the live chat and answer a ton of questions.